This is actually an updated version of the tutorial I did earlier on how I do the interior of my scrapbook albums. These are for the base pages and what you will adhere to the inside of your album cover. So this will be for a 5-page album. You'll need 4 pieces that measure 9 1/4 by 8 1/4, and you're going to score them at the 8 1/4 and 8 3/4 mark. And the reason I did it is because I'm right-handed, and it was easier to score it over here than it was to cross my hands and score it over that way. So again, 4 pieces measuring 9 1/4 by 8 1/4, and you're going to score at the 8 1/4 and 8 3/4 mark. Then you're going to put score tape on that 1/2 inch edge on all these pieces, all 4 of these pieces. Next, you'll need a piece that measures 3 by 8 1/4, and you're going to score that at the 2 and the 2 1/2 inch. And again, I did it that way so that I didn't have to cross my arm over. You're going to put a piece of score tape on that 1/2 inch piece flap as well. Then you're going to need the last piece that measures 10 1/2 by 8 1/4, and you're going to score that at the 8 1/4 and 8 3/4. Again, the reason I did it that way because it's easier to score on the right side for me. And you don't put any tape on that one. So we're going to put the 2 pieces that are odd shaped to the side, and we're going to work with the other 4 pieces that measure 9 1/4 by 8 1/4. So the first piece you're going to take and you're going to tuck this entire flap under, so that will be 1 inch. You're going to tuck that under your base page. So now what you have showing is a page that measures 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 on all sides. You're going to take another piece of that same paper that measures 9 1/4 by 8 1/4 that has the score tape on it. You're going to take the backing off. You're going to tuck this under, and you're going to adhere it to the edge of where you tucked the other one under, because this will be your spine. You really want to make sure you line it up well, because this is going to be the plumb line for the rest of your album. And if you get this crooked, then your whole album is going to be kind of wonky. So now you have 2 pieces adhered together that look something like this. Now we're going to take this whole piece and we're going to tuck this whole piece under, so that your top base page is showing, again, measuring 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 on all sides. And you're going to take this next piece and adhere that to the edge of the other, just like we did before. So now we have 3 pieces adhered together. I'm going to repeat that same pattern with this final page that measures 9 1/4 by 8 1/4. We're going to fold all those pieces under and adhere this last piece to the whole system. Now again, this is going to be for a 5-page album. I've only done up to 6 pages with this system just because I add a lot of flaps to my books and it becomes really big at that point. And a 3-inch spine I found is quite large when you're trying to store albums. So now we're going to take this final piece that measures 3 by 8 1/4, and we're going to adhere that to the back of all 4 of these pages that are hooked together. Again, tucking all of those spine pieces under so that your base page shows, and again measuring 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. I know some people were having trouble with figuring out how to do the last part of the album, putting it into the book. So I'm going to go over that as well. Okay, now you have a piece, or I'm sorry, a book that looks like this, and you have 4 pages. And now we're going to adhere this last page to the whole system. So this piece that measures 8 1/2 by 8 1/4, that's scored at the 8 1/4 and 8 3/4 mark, we're going to take this whole flap and tuck that completely under that base page. And again, this base page is going to measure 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. That's what's showing. We're going to tuck that under. We're going to put that, lay that down, and we're going to take this whole system and adhere it to that page. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm doing this in a light box because my lighting here is not very good, and I don't want to stick my head in the way. Then you wouldn't be able to see anything. So here's 5 pages, base pages, for your interior book. Now what I was doing before is gluing these flaps right here directly to the interior of my book cover, and I found that that was causing some issues with the binding between the front cover and the spine and the back cover and the spine. So what I've been doing is gluing these flaps to the back portion. I put score tape all along the spine, these pieces that measure 1/2 inch, and then I've been folding this completely over. Like this. And I glue that down, and then I put score tape on this whole thing right here, and I glue that into the inside of the book cover that I've already created. And people have asked, what size is the spine on these? When I do a 4-page album, it's 2.5 inches. With each page, you're going to add 1/2 inch to the spine. So if you have 5 pages, it's going to be 3 inches. If you add 6 pages, it's going to be 3.5 inches. So keep that in mind. With every page you add to it, it adds 1/2 inch to the spine. I hope that helps with some of the questions that I've had. Now just to show you what this looks like, with the score tape on it. Again, I folded those flaps and glued them down, and then I put score tape along the spine so that I can adhere it to the interior of this book. So we'll remove the score tape. I want you to cooperate. Bear with me. Let's see if I can do this without getting my head in the way. Now the cover is 8.5 by 8.5. I don't know of any other way to do it but than to stick my head in the way. And all I do is line it up, leaving about 1/8 of an inch from top to bottom. And I don't measure it, I just eyeball it. I just take my bone folder and go in between each page. Just to make sure it's down good and tight. So that's the interior of a book. That's how you adhere it into the inside. Now you can add as many flaps and pockets as you want that will fit within the 1/2 inch gusset. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know.